moment at least predict the values of these numbers from theory. We have to find them by observation. It may be that one day we shall discover the complete unified theory that predict them all. But it's also possible that some or all of them vary from universe to universe or within a single universe. The remarkable fact is that the value of these numbers seem to have been very finely adjusted to make possible the development of life. For example, if the electronic charge of the electron had been only slightly different, stars either would have been unable to burn hydrogen and helium, or else they would have exploded. Of course, there might be other forms of intelligent life, not dreamed of even by writers of science fiction. They did not require the light of the star, like the sun, or the heavier chemical elements that are made in stars flung back into space when the star explodes. Nevertheless, it seems clear that there are relatively few range of the value for the number that would allow the development of any form of intelligent life. Most set of value would give rise of the universe that, although they might be very beautiful, would contain no one able to wonder at that beauty. One can take this either as evidence of the divine purpose in creation and the choice of the law of the science, or as a support for the strong anthropic principle. There are a number of objections that one can raise to the strong anthropic principle as an explanation of the observed state of the universe. First, in what sense can all these different universes be said to exist? If they are really separate from each other, what happened in another universe to have no observable consequence in our own universe? We should therefore use the principle of economy and cut them out of the theory. If, on the other hand, they are just different regions of the single universe, the law of science would have to be the same in each region, because otherwise one could not move continuously from one region to another. In this case, the only difference between the regions would be their linear configuration, and so the strong entropy principle would reduce to the weak one. A second objection, the strong entropy principle, is that it runs against the tide of the whole history of science. We have developed from the geocentric cosmology of Ptolemy and his forebears through the heliocentric cosmology of Copernicus and Galileo to the modern picture in which the Earth is a medium-sized planet orbiting around the average star in the outer suburbs of an ordinary spiral galaxy, which is itself only one of the about a billion galaxies in the observable universe. The strong entropy principle would claim that this whole vast construction exists simply for our sake. This is very hard to believe. Our solar system is containing prerequisites for our existence, and one might extend this to the whole of our galaxy to allow for the earlier generation of stars that create the heavier element. But there are not seem to be any need to all those other galaxies, nor for the universe to be so uniform and similar in every direction on the large scale. One would feel happier about the entropy principle, at least in its weak version, if one could show the quite a number of different initial configurations for the universe would have evolved to produce a universe like the one we observe. If this is the case, A universe that developed from some sort of random initial conditions should contain a number of regions that are smooth and uniform, suitable for the evolution of intelligent life. On the other hand, if the initial state of the universe had to be chosen extremely carefully to lead to something like body around us, the universe would be unlikely to contain any region in which life would appear. In the hot Big Bang model described above, there was not enough time in the early universe to heat to have flown from one region to another. This means that the initial state of the universe would have to have had exactly the same temperature everywhere in order to account for the fact that the microwave background has the same temperature in every direction we look. The initial rate of expansion also would have had to be chosen very precisely for the rate of the expansion still to be so close to the critical rate needed to avoid the collapse. This means that the initial state of the universe must have been very carefully chosen indeed if the hot Big Bang model was correct right back to the beginning of the time. It would be very difficult to explain why the universe should have begun in just this way, except as the act of the God who intended to create a being like us. In an attempt to find a model of the universe in which many different initial configurations would have evolved to something like the present universe, a scientist at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Alan Good, suggests that the early universe might have gone through a period of very rapid expansion. This expansion is said to be inflationary, meaning that the universe at one time expanded at an increasing rate rather than the decreasing rate that it does today. According to Gauss, the radius of the universe increased by the million, one with 30 zeros after it, times in only a tiny fraction of a second. Gauss suggests that the universe started out from a Big Bang in a very hot but rather chaotic state. This high temperature would have meant that the particles in the universe would be moving very fast and would have very high energy. As we discussed earlier, one would expect that in such high temperature, the strong and weak nuclear force and the electromagnetic force would all be unified into a single force. As the universe expands, it would cool, and particle energies would go down. Eventually, there would be what is called a phase transition, and the symmetry between the forms would be broken. The strong force would become different from the weak and the electromagnetic forces. One common example of a phase transition is freezing of water when you cool it down. Liquid water is symmetrical, the same at every point and in every direction. However, when ice crystal form, they will have a definite position and will be lined up in some direction. This breaks water's symmetry. In the case of water, if one is careful, one can supercool it. That is, one can reduce the temperature below the freezing point without ice forming. Gauss suggests that the universe might have a similar way. The temperature might drop below the critical value without a symmetry between the forces being broken. If this happened, the universe would be in an unstable state with more energy than if the symmetry had been broke. This special extra energy can be shown to have an anti-gravitational effect. It would have acted just like the cosmological constant that Einstein introduced into general relativity when he was trying to construct a starting model of the universe. Since the universe would already be expanding just as in the hot Big Bang model, The repulsive effect of this cosmological constant would therefore have made the universe expand at the ever-increasing rate. Even in a region where there are more metal particles than average, gravitational attraction of the metal would have been overweighted by the repulsion of the effective cosmological constant. Thus, this region would also expand in an accelerating inflationary manner. As they expanded and the metal particles got farther apart, one would be left with the expanding universe that contained hardly any particles and was still in the supercooled state. Any irregular